Hello, my name is andril recla, and this is my process video for the Art 31 assignment, Art Can Be Inspired from Within. Alright, so let's get started with my research and stuff. Surrealism. Surrealism was an artistic movement that focused on moving away from rational art or images that made realistic sense, rather embracing imagination through the juxtaposition and modification of objects usually not seen together. It also greatly incorporates visual psychological tools, taking advantage of the unconscious mind to create illusions and things as far from reality as possible. I've taken psychology classes before, and I've done a lot of research into surrealists like Salvador Dali, if you know him. This is one of my favorite pieces from him, Swans Reflecting Elephants. And most prominent part is the elephants and the swans here. From this perspective, it looks like a swan and then the tree trunks, right? But from here, upside down, the reflection looks like elephants standing. And that this is part of that illusionary surrealist aspect. Also the just like strange juxtaposition. The man here, there's a boat over there, and just wild landscape. And there's also here's another painting, which is more famous than that one, The Persistence of Memory. And the same things apply here. There's some clocks that are melting, which doesn't happen in reality. There's this strange object here. You're not really sure what it is, and it's just there's like irregular squares in the landscape. The landscape is irregularly flat, and yeah. Another example again is this piece called by Max Ernst called Fireside Angel. And similar to biomorphism, it's similar to biomorphism, where something takes the form of a natural biological thing, but not to the point that it is recognizable as anything. And you saw examples of that in the previous paintings too. And speaking of biomorphism, there's another art movement that almost completely opposes it, which is minimalism. Minimalism is a movement that was focused on the literal perception of art, kind of rebellious to the common appointed meaning to artworks, like abstract expressionism, wherein the piece would have a metaphor for human expression or life, usually. Minimalism's meaning is rooted in the object itself, fairly different from common art aesthetics from when it was first introduced. And this is an example of minimalism by Piet Mondrian. And okay, back to expressionism. The general movement overall is based on the expression of human perception, capturing the world after being processed by our thoughts and emotions, rather than before that, with like for example realism. Expressionist pieces are meant to evoke and represent emotion, as with one of its most famous works, The Scream by Edvard Munch. It evokes feelings of anxiety and existential dread from its colors and imagery. Okay, next up is color field art, which builds upon the expressional qualities of color by removing the aspect of figure or form and focusing on like color itself. And there's also fantasy art, and it often depicts the product of the imagination in a literal sense, from like stuff like fictional narratives and worlds with modified aspects of reality. All these different styles reflect the idea of creating art that expresses the products of the human psyche rather than reality and literalism. In the same sense, I made my piece with aspects from many of these styles, which is down here, the piece that I made. Moving on to technical development stuff. The work I had planned was pretty out of my comfort zone, because I wanted to try combining pencil and acrylic paints in one piece. I spent a lot of time researching artworks that did similar things as this. For example, This piece here, this piece right here combines like kind of like blurry painting and realistic graphite drawing to create a surreal, like contrasting aesthetic, which was one that I wanted to incorporate into my own design. Considering the mixed medium nature of the idea I had, I also experimented with different styles of acrylic painting to help incorporate aspects from like the multiple art styles that I researched, um, which is evident over here. This is more like thick, just like plotting paintings, and then this is more like over here, kind of treating it more like watercolor, where you put in a lot of water and just like spread it. I'm going to begin to start talking about the actual piece itself. My goal for this project was to take various parts from all the styles that I researched and to combine them into my own interpretation of the expression of art from like the human psyche from within oneself. I didn't really consider fantasy art or minimalism in this piece, as I felt they didn't really fit with the other styles as well, and I didn't really find a way to incorporate them that I liked. I used aspects of surrealism in like the clouds and psychology, like the Gestalt laws of perception, with the outline of the sky section here resembles the side of a head because of the law of closure. Your mind subconsciously kind of sees both the face and the sky as one figure. But it switches sometimes when you focus on like the cloud versus the face. You can kind of like look at it a little bit. Depending on where you look, the sky can either represent the back, mid, or foreground at a glance, and it's like a little trippy. I also tried to make the sky section look as if it was liquid pouring upwards, and also pouring out of the man's head. It's supposed to represent his inner thoughts and expression of the world from himself and dreams. I picked the clouds and sky because we usually look at the clouds in the sky when we're daydreaming or cloud watching, which is a form of escapism. The colors were also intended to add to this and to contrast the gray scale of his realistic face, kind of representing reality. And that escapism aspect is also supposed to represent his own escapism through his inner thoughts and dreams. And then considering the background, it kind of takes from that expressionalist kind of color field idea of color expressing emotion. I thought of them as different feelings and thoughts that the guy has. Originally, I wanted to paint a cloud-like eye here to add to the surrealism kind of idea, but I decided not to, in light of kind of my main inspiration for this piece, which I'll talk about later. You don't use your eyes when you dream or think or feel. That comes from your mind. You dream literally when you're sleeping and your eyes are closed. It's like the sky is what you see with your mind. It's like a dream. That's what it kind of represents. But your face is what you see in reality. And as eyes are our gateway to reality, you can see his like eye because it's in reality. His other eye, quote quote, is being used as a gateway to his like inner self. And his like vision is split, if that kind of makes sense. The bold marker between the sky and the face is representative of the contrast between them, and as well as his idea of feeling of being conflicted between the two that I tried to convey. Conflicted between his like inner self and outer self, or like reality and fantasy, or the dream. I was inspired, like the main idea of this painting, when I was watching a video where I saw a kind of pretty boring looking copy paste business salary man in his mid 30s or 40 years old ish. He's wearing a monotone suit. He just seemed really boring on the outside. Later on, they show him in like this kind of like bar with lots of flashing lights, and then there's like a dance group kind of doing a performance, and there's lots of loud music, and he was like dancing, he was singing, and he was smiling, and I thought the contrast between who he kind of presented himself as in the earlier part of the video and how he was being shown now, like his compared to like all the flashing lights and bright colors and stuff, and like happiness and like dancing and stuff around him. I thought that was kind of interesting difference between our outer the way we present ourselves on the outside and see ourselves on the inside, like our inner thoughts and our outer thoughts and stuff like that. Okay, let's talk about refinement. Okay. If it will stick there. Oh, okay. I went through a lot of changes while painting this piece, painting over parts and other stuff. I took a few pictures during the process, but I didn't take pictures of all the layers. This is the most current one. I've never really done much surrealism, so it was difficult at first imagining the composition of the art, but I got to a point where I was satisfied. So eventually I did get to the finished product. I probably painted like 5 layers of stuff, but I didn't take pictures of all of them. Like here, at first I was going to do something a lot less crazy. I copied the outline of the hair and stuff, just so I had, in case I wanted to expand or stuff. And then at this point, I was kind of just thinking of ways I could do the composition of the whole thing. And that is my process video for this assignment. Hopefully this one is not as long as my previous ones. Sorry about the 20-minute videos. I'll try to make them shorter from now on. But yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.